Cool. So I received today a little micro lab. Well, there it is. And it's controlling the analog lab software, which let me make myself smaller so you can actually see what's going on here. There we are. Hey. There we are. Hello, moving things around on the screen. So when I connected the little micro lab to the software, like it all just like connects right away. I'm really liking the piano string ensemble. So it's a nice piano sound with some strings behind it. And it is. It's very nice. The keys feel great. The sounds are really cool. I've had the sounds for a while, but this is a different, like a little mini controller that Arturia sent me to review. So yeah, I'll keep playing a little bit, but if you have any questions, let me know. And what I'll do is I'll put the phone up here. Shoot. It's not what I wanted. This is very unorganized so far, folks. But where am I at? I want to go here. And I'm connected to the Wi-Fi. Bam. There we go. So this is an app called Epoch Cam. And it allows me to use my phone as a webcam, which is pretty cool. Yeah, something like that. And the other problem is I have the light on overhead, so let me turn that on. All right. I'm back. And I have stuff in front of the screen now, but it's fine. So you should be able to see the Headrush gig board. My wife just got home, so I'm probably not going to do this for much longer. But I just want to get on and play and see what's up. So let's go to all rigs. Let's build a new rig from scratch. There we go. That looks pretty good. So I'll put in an amp head. And let's put in something I don't usually use. Let's do a super reverb. I'm actually going to use the new impulse responses from my impulse response pack, which is Sonic DNA Doc IRs. And a guy earlier today said he really liked the J group, which is a dual 421 with one of them on a greenback and the other on a vintage 30. If I can spell A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So here's the greenback 421 and a vintage 30 421. I can make this a little bit bigger. Whoa. Something cool like that. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll keep it like this. There we go. So that way I can use my scroll wheel to scroll up and down. All right, here we go. One thing that you want to be aware of when you're building a clean tone is if you like the sound of the amp, but you would just want it louder, then you either go to the impulse response and turn it up from there, like have it be more gain, give them more juice. Like so. Sounds pretty good. And then we can also go to the output and make sure our green bars are not hitting the yellow. That way it gives us plenty of headroom for for like adding boost pedals or distortion pedals or graphic EQs or whatever else. So if you're in here right now, go ahead and come on in. I did the little arpeggiated thing at the beginning. But for people watching right now, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me who you are, where you're from. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'm going to be playing around with some IRs and some piano stuff, I guess. Now, I see a lot of comments of people saying that the tuner on the Headrush is not that great. I beg to differ. You just gotta use it. So the less red there is and the more green, you know you're in tune. So if it's like really bright red, like that, then as you get closer to the note, it gets a little more faint. And also try to tune down and then go up to the pitch. Seems to help with tuning stability. Stuff like that. Alright, sounds good. Let's switch the IR to something a little less vintage 30. And then we can go down to maybe like this one. I know, man. The tuner's great. It always gets a bad rap. I don't know why. Alright, let's stick with that one. Let's go back to the amp and see what happens if we push the mids a little bit. All right, now on a super reverb, that's a 60 watt tube amplifier. So I would say like 5 on the dial is still fairly clean, but it should be loud like in the room. So obviously with the gig board or any digital modeler, you're not getting an amp in the room sound. You're getting the sound of a amp in a room with a mic in front of the speaker, and that's coming back through like a studio monitor or something. So you're not going to get like the push in the air that you would with a real amp, but that's what it is. Hyperboard. Well, if you look at my channel, I have some videos with the full size pedal board, though I can do it with a gig board as well. It's the same thing. But I have some videos with the Blue Guitar Amp 1. So that might be something worth checking out. If you want to see like a hybrid setup of like something digital or really any kind of amp with an effects loop, you can do this setup with. So yeah. Alright, there's the mids pushed a little bit. Let's scoop them. Alright. That's cool. Let's bring up the highs just a little bit. right off. Alright, that's fine. Let's bring in reverb. And the other day I downloaded some rigs. And let's do studio, I guess. At the time, fairly long. And my phone disconnected. Did my phone just die? Really? I had you plugged in. The phone was plugged in. Alright, I guess I won't show the screen. Something must have happened. But yeah, he had the time like set to like 7 seconds, and it sounded really cool. I'll turn the color down a little bit. Whoa. Whoa. Here I am. Alright, move that out of the way. I'm not using the phone anymore. Now, what would be really cool, let's talk about some update stuff, which I don't know when the update is going to be, but I would like to talk about some things I would like to see in an update. So I love all the reverbs. They're excellent, but I would love to have some built-in like shimmer or just like some otherworldly kind of sounds in there. So that way you don't have to use like 3 different effect blocks just to make one sound. Because right now we can, we can do a reverb. We can add in a shimmer, which is cool. I stole Peter's shimmer sound because I really liked it. So check this out. Yeah, so there's that. And then we got, let's say we add in a reverse delay just for fun. Delayed answer. So, all right, so that's like 3 different blocks. But what if we had a reverb that had the ability to add just a little bit of like weird ethereal stuff with a reverse delay or something in there? But it was all from the same block. That'd be really cool. No volume. How about that? I mean, no volume. Cool sounds great. You said it sounds good, then you said no volume. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Check, check. You should be able to hear me okay. Hear everything. Alright, so that's with the J group with the dual 421s. Here's the I group with dual 57s. And we have an off axis option in here, so now I feel like my high E string is a little flat. There you go. Probably need to change the strings on this guitar. Ah. Don't confuse me, Francis. Alright, I know you can't see my screen. Why did my phone die, by the way? I haven't plugged in. I don't know. Nobody knows. If you have any other suggestions for maybe like what I should put in the rig, then let me know. 5 people who are watching. Tell me your name, where you're from. Ask me a question. And all that fun stuff. Ooh, yeah. I know it's fun to talk about updates and what we would want in a future update. But even if you only had like a handful of effects and a handful of amps, I mean, you got to get creative. You can't rely on updates all the time. It's like, what can you do? Have you exhausted the abilities of a reverse delay, for instance? And if not, then go in there and figure out different ways of using it and create music with it. So that's all I got to say about that. Same thing with a shimmer or a reverb or anything else. It's like, oh, I would like to have like a Klon overdrive pedal. It's like, all right, well, that's cool, but what if you just added a graphic EQ and, you know, like boosted some high mids or something? So check this out. Turn all this stuff off. Graphic EQ off. So those upper mids are flat and now they're boosted. Now, obviously, there's not, you know, a lot of gain to that, but I can add like 6 dB of gain. You know, EQ is fun. Let's add in distortion. Let's go to 8-bit crush. I hate this thing, but you can get some cool sounds. It just sounds ridiculous. Right. That's something that I would definitely prefer to have a true like fuzz sound and not like a 8-bit crush. It doesn't make sense to have that. But, you know, if you want to get creative, then there's ways of doing that. Let's turn this level down. This is the anxiety overdrive. Okay, that's not bad. I'll take it out and I'll put in. I still just love a JRC. Really can't go wrong with that. All right, I'm gonna just keep playing stuff unless someone wants to ask a question. Because I'm really don't really have an agenda. Let's play my arpeggiated thing again. See if I can come up with something cool. Let's see. What if I made the mix on this like super? So yeah, I'll have to come up with like some drum stuff and a bass part and maybe some acoustic guitar in there. Maybe just come up with like a better chord progression or something. But anyway, that could be a cool like little tune, just for fun. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Greg. I never really have any aspirations of like going live, but like, you know what? I got some cool. First of all, I got this neat Microlab keyboard today from Arturia, which is cool. And I can go in here and I can play. You know, I can play stuff, which I have other keyboards that I own or are reviewing. So anyway, this makes 4 in my studio now, which I don't know why I need 4 keyboards because I'm a guitar player, but hey, why not? My girls think that it's their pianos now. It's like, oh, you got us a keyboard, Daddy. He's like, yeah, I sure did. I sure did. All right, 8 people. Who are you? Where are you from? And do you have a question? Because otherwise, I'm going to go probably to bed. Yeah, so this was a sound with some reverse delay, which was neat. This is just reverb. And the impulse response I'm using is the Doc IRs from Sonic DNA and is the IJ, which is the 57 group on a greenback and a vintage 30. It's kind of neat. Let's go to H. These are the 121 group. Now the greenback has like a spike of the upper mids, and the vintage 30 has like a more of a scoopy kind of sound to me. Oh, Nashville, what's up? You in my neck of the woods. Bingo. Is that are you bingoing my description of the greenback and the vintage 30? I hope so. I hope I'm right. Hey, A Gallant, if you want to hang out. I'm down here in Smyrna. So let's come hang. Let's make some music together. Message me on Facebook at Nathan McFarland or just find me on Dr. McFarland Facebook page or whatever. So yes. Yeah, my phone died. Otherwise, I'd show you my screen of my gig board. But yeah, I have the gig board permanently stuck. Not permanently stuck, but like it's pretty much always on my studio desk right here because it's just so easy to just reach over and like touch the screen and move things and make a tone and record something. So I like that. Yeah. If you wanna swing by the studio, a Gallant, we can maybe do a new user video of like, hey, what's some questions that you have, and we can kind of go over stuff. I don't know, that'd be fun. Or we don't have to do it in a video. We can just hang out off camera and let the world wonder of the sweet tones that we create, or something. Cool. Yeah, if you come to Nashville, Greg, let me know. We can hang. We can do a Sonic DNA Dr. McFarland hangout. That sounds good. I'm in the G group right now, which is a 421 and a 121. This is kind of neat. Now, if you're just listening, like I'm switching IRs, but like you're not going to hear like drastic differences within the same group because, especially if it's a blended, like two different speakers blended together, there's going to be some nuance there, but it's like, oh, I don't really hear a lot of difference. It's like, well, there's, when you're moving faders up and down and getting different balances on the board, I mean, you're going to hear just like small movements. But it does make a big difference. Small movements make a big difference. So, St. Louis, my aunt Mary McFarland, is currently living in St. Louis. She's been there for like 20 years, I think. She was a swim teacher at Rittenhour High School. So, if you know Aunt Mary, then say hi. She's pretty cool. She's my aunt. She's cool. And my grandparents, they live in Rolla, Missouri, which is about another hour and a half, 2 hours outside of St. Louis. So it's a little northwest, I think, or maybe northeast of Springfield, Missouri. But yeah, my mom's side lives in Kansas. My dad's side lives in Missouri. So that's pretty much we never went on like vacations. We always just went to see grandparents and family. So fun times in the car. Have you tried any Dumble IRs? Yeah, Rolla's not too far from you, Greg. You'll have to talk with Greg Barth about that, about Dumble IRs. That would be interesting. I think Greg is doing he's cooking up some stuff, mimicking EQ curves of different amps. Oh, dude, I love St. Louis. It's a beautiful city. And the zoo is pretty awesome too. We have taken the kids there many times over the years, and they love it. All right, any questions specifically about music, maybe music theory, maybe some recording stuff, maybe gear stuff? I mean, that's kind of the world I live in, is either music, gear, or recording. So any kind of questions about that would be fine. I'm pretty fluent in pretty much any of that. So that sounds great. Let's turn off the reverb for a second. And I'm currently playing a super reverb. And I've boosted it with the graphic EQ. So let me just not do that. I could probably nail it down. Nice. Yeah, Greg is the guy that talked to about getting different IR sounds. So I just stick them in the gig board and play through them, and they sound good. All right, here's the sound of a cranked super reverb. And the mids are pushed just a little bit. And maybe the bass, maybe. 80s kind of hair metal patch. I can make one real fast. Let me save this one first. Let's do a super reverb. So when I think 80s hair metal, I'm primarily going to go with like a JCM 800 type thing. I like the bass mod because it's nice and thick. Let's put in a impulse response. And I'll stick with the same one I had. So now I need to learn some 80s songs because I'm really bad about that whole repertoire of like 80s hair metal stuff. So I can't really play riffs. Have you tried a Strymon Iridium? I have not tried the Strymon Iridium. As far as amps go, I mean, the Iridium is basically an amp, like a pedal amp. It is an amp. But right now I have the Blue Guitar Amp 1. I have a Boss Katana 100-watt head. And I have a Quilter Interblock 45, which is about the same size as a Iridium. So yeah, between those 3 amps, I mean, for what I do in the studio, I really don't need anything else. I don't really have a pedal board anymore. I do have a HX Effects on the same board as my Blue Guitar Amp 1, so that's technically my pedal board, if you want to call it that. It's just all, it's the digital effect with analog amp combination, which is cool. And I play it through a 2x12 cab with a Vintage 30 and a greenback, and it sounds great. But for what I do here in the studio, I just don't need anything else other than the Headrush. So, I mean, I know the Iridium sounds great. I've heard it in videos, and I have no doubt that it would do good in like a direct to live or recording situation. But that's the thing. There's just so many options these days. Like they all sound great. So really, whatever you choose nowadays, or really within like the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, shoot, as long as you're a good player and you have a good ear, that's really all that matters. You can pretty much pick anything. Now, upgrading from the gig board to the pedal board. I would say, Timothy, it's not really an upgrade because the gig board is 100% everything that the pedal board is. The only thing I prefer the pedal board for is live use because it has more switches. The tap tempo is easily accessible versus the gig board. You have to hold down the tuner button, then you have to tap in the tempo from there, and it's just a lot of tap dancing to do a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, if you're a very simple player and you don't need tons of switching, then the gig board is great. Because I pretty much set up like, let's say I have like 8 different rigs in a set list, and I can just switch between those rigs with the 4 switches, and it makes it really easy. But if you want a little more functionality and just, more buttons at your disposal, then the full size pedal board is definitely worth it. And you can find them used all day for like $800, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but it's a good deal. And Francis is like, yeah. Anything else? All right, so 80s, back to 80s hair metal. So JCM 800 with a impulse response of DK, which is a Vintage 30 421 and a 121. So it's just a Vintage 30. The B and D is a Vintage 30. The A and C is a greenback. That sounds good. I mean, what more do you want than a JCM 800, right? Now, what's cool is I like putting the reverb, maybe just like a little bit of reverb, maybe like 1 second, and the mix down to like 10%. All right, maybe the size a little bit smaller. And maybe the mix even down a little bit. I just want like a little bit of early reflection. That way it just kind of gives a little sense of space. But as Greg is saying, let's put in a Saldano just for fun. Because there ain't nothing wrong with that. I usually do the extended range, but even like the drive is usually fine. That has a little bit more cojones. I'll turn down the bass. Now this is the thing. And this is the thing with amps and cabs or IRs. Especially if you have an impulse response pack like mine that you have different options as far as like balancing the mics. If I pull up an amp and already I hear that has too much bass, I have a few different options. I can either go to the amp itself and just turn down the bass, or I can go to the IR and pick another variation that gives me a little bit less low end. And in this case, less 121, because the 121 is going to give you the bottom end of the signal. So I'm going to go to DH, which is the Vintage 30 421 off axis, 100%, 121, 50%. Okay, and if I go down one more to DI, the 121 is out of the signal, and I'm just hearing the 421 off axis. And already I've solved my problem of, hey, there's too much bass. Let's dial some of that out. And I didn't have to touch the amp. I just changed the impulse response that I was using. So I hate that my phone died. Otherwise, I'd show you the screen. But and honestly, I watched a video there. Thomas Blug of Blue Guitar Amp One. He does a live stream every Wednesday, and today he talked about EQ curves and different tone stacks, and how you really don't need tons of bass when you're in like a full band mix, because you got the kick drum, you got the bass guitar, maybe you have another rhythm guitar player, and all those elements are going into the overall sound. And if your sound is too big, like it's too bassy, then you're gonna crowd out the kick drum and the bass guitar and stuff like that. So it's fine and dandy to create a big, huge sound when you're playing by yourself. But once you get into that full band mix, I think that's why a lot of guys are really like, hey, I need to fix this in the global EQ because I realized I have way too much bass or way too much highs or whatever else. It's like, well, yeah, but you need to figure that out beforehand. It's really not the venue's fault that your sound is too big. Like, you should have figured that out at home or in the practice space with your band. It's like, yeah, I need to dial back my bass a little bit, or maybe my gain a little bit. So that way you can fit in the mix a little bit better, if that makes sense. Now, with any amp or with any signal chain, I love putting a green JRC with drive at 0, level at 100, and the tone can be like at 50% or so. And what that does is it naturally rolls off some of that low end, and it pushes the mids and the signal a little bit more. So I have 2 amps in the signal chain here. I'm going to bypass the Saldano and go back to the JCM 800. All right, back to Saldano. All right, so already you can hear that, that the Saldano is beefier, so much beefier. But, you know, that doesn't mean you can't go to the JCM 800 and tweak it a little bit more to make it sound similar. So that's about it. All right, I've gone pretty longer than I expected. But yeah, I didn't see any other questions. There's 11 people watching. So one more good question, and then I'll have to be leaving. Whoops. I'm playing, by the way, I'm playing my Reverend Warhawk RT, which stands for Revtron. So there you go. I'll play a little piano here. Trying to get it in the shot. There we go. Love it. Sounds great. All right. I didn't get anything productive done tonight, but I did do a live stream and that was fun. So I will have a video out on Friday about the Headrush FR 108. And speaking of 108, Francis just got one. Second one for stereo. If you like stereo, then go for it. I mean, it's relatively cheap. It's around $200, right? $219 somewhere. And yeah, if you like stereo, that's cool. I actually had 2 of the 1x12 speakers, and I sold them both and just got the 108. But for me, I only have so much room here in the studio, and those 1x12 speakers were huge just in my space. And I just didn't, I just didn't need them to take up as much space as they did. So that's why I sold them both and just got the 108. Plus the 108 is lighter and it just is smaller and it doesn't take up as much room in the car. So that's the route I went. But if you get a 112, it's fine. It's a great speaker. Nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, but Friday will be the should you buy the Headrush 108. I think you should. I think it's a good one. I'm going to be using it with the Headrush. I'm going to be plugging in other direct signals like the Boss Katana and the Blue Guitar Amp 1, the Quilter and the Block 45. And just listen to how the 108 speaker accepts different signals and how it translates through the speaker. So, well, see, I mean, you say the 112 is very bassy, but just like I described earlier, if you feel like the sound is too bassy, then you need to go to the amp and turn down the bass, or you need to find a cab or IR setting that doesn't have as much bass in there, because the purpose of a FR is to give you a true flat signal. So whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get out. So if you feel like, it's kind of like mixing a song. If you feel like there's too much bass, then your bass guitar is probably too loud in the mix. You just need to bring it down. It's the same thing with guitar signal. If you feel like it's too bassy, then it's really not the speaker's fault. It's just your rig has too much bass in it, primarily, or your speaker may be too close to a wall, and that wall is amplifying the bass frequencies and is making it sound bigger than it really is. So maybe pull it back from a wall a little bit. Hello. So yeah, pull it back from the wall a little bit more, maybe a few feet, and it should clear up the bass if that is actually the issue. But if you have it in the middle of the room and you still feel like it's too bassy, then just turn down the bass on the amp. Or, like I said, find a different cab or IR setting that doesn't have as much bass, and you should be good. So, well, I don't know if I have an advantage or not, but since the gig board is here at my desk and I have studio monitors, I listen to everything through my KRK V8 studio monitors because I'm trying to create a tone that I can record with and that blends well with the mix. So I'm already listening to the full mix through the monitors, so it makes sense to listen to the gig board through the monitor as well. But I think if you can make it sound good on your FR speaker, then it should sound good through the front of house speakers at a gig. That's my 2 cents on that. So, but if you want to use headphones, that's fine. As long as the headphones are fairly flat and maybe doesn't accentuate too many of the frequencies too much, then that should be fine. So yeah, is it better to build a rig with the FR? Yeah, it's fine. Thanks Francis from Montreal for chiming in. You've chimed in a few times here, and that's cool. I'll probably go back and change the title of this video to like Headrush Jam and taking your questions segment of the week. So yeah, anytime, Francis. Send me a private message on Facebook or something if you have any more questions in the future. But otherwise, I am Dr. McFarland. Thanks, guys, for watching. I will see you in